right, so how could you have made money trading the Nasdaq today, trading those Nasdaq options? I'll go through this just quickly, just to talk about the day, and that there were 2 or 3 moves that could have been taken advantage of today. This turquoise line right here, this is actually the high of the day from the day before. That's why I have that on there. You can see down here, we're going to be looking at the 5-minute chart, and we will just replay this right now to see where those opportunities could have been found. So I always want to make sure the first 2 bars have closed, and that gives me an idea of where our support and resistance lines might be. And so I will put a little bit of a trend line here on how things were broken down. See if that looks like. I'll have to just drag that over here then. After 15 minutes, it ended up looking like this. And so I was able to enter in on some puts. But also, as we look at the resistance line from the day before, we have to look at that as a possible sign of support. So I was taking profits as soon as I could, and especially when I saw basically a tweezer candle right there. When you see that basically the next candle is just as strong as the previous one, it kind of looks like tweezers are pinching down on something. That's a very strong sign. But that doesn't mean that our opportunity from the open is gone. So we're just going to keep watching this to see what other opportunities are there. So I'll pause just a second here, because what we want to be looking at is, first of all, we want to be looking at candles. Right now, somebody might think that calls are in play because higher highs and higher lows. However, the second thing that I'll put up, let me see if I can get rid of this here too. I wonder if I just drag that down here. But we'll have the little reminders up here that we're looking at candles, and then we're also looking at support and resistance. After that, we're looking at PSAR. And then we're also checking in on the 820 EMA clouds, and we are also checking in on VWAP for health, or the sentiment. And so you can see right now the 8 has crossed over on the 20, and it's above VWAP. So it looks like calls might be in play. However, when I'm looking at the candles, I also want to look at resistance and see what might happen. If it breaks and holds above this line, then calls are in play. If not, we might have a rejection, and puts might be in play. And so you can see right there, even though the PSAR says to buy, we're looking at candles in support and resistance. And so if this actually goes back under our previous support and resistance line here, then puts are back in play. So let's watch and see what happens here. This is a wait and see for sure. And now you can see it's breaking below that, and it actually confirmed below that support and resistance line. And so that was actually a time to have some puts in play. And those puts, I know that looks like it was pretty quick. Let me see if I can look on the chart here. Okay, so these puts are not done yet. You can see it did bounce off of this support from the day before, the high of the day before, but we also have this line here that was serving as a little bit of a support and resistance from the morning. And so we would set our stop, and we would stop out if it closed above this. I even put it above VWAP there just to give it a little bit of wiggle room. It came back up and it retested here, but now it's going to come back down, and it's actually going to test that high of the day from the day before. And we'll see what happens after it tests it. So now it actually went under for a bit, and now it has held below. So that means entering those puts in this case right here was a good call. We stayed in it, and as I'm looking at the put contracts from today, they were at this point in time, the 366 puts, they started out at about, if we would have entered in up here, they would have been around 90 cents. And then they peaked out down here at $2.40. And so That's over a 200% gain from here all the way down here. That's amazing, right? Now you can see just it bounced. I don't see much of a support line. I did see a little bit from like 2 days ago, but then it came back up and it retested that high of the day from the day before. And now we're just wondering, how strong of a move is this? And so one good thing to do is to have a trend line um, where, there we go. If I can just get this drawn on here, and I'm drawing to the top of each of these wicks, and I'm trying to figure out how strong of a move this is. Now it's below VWAP, and you can see the 820 clouds have crossed down. It's just a matter of how far is it going to go. You can see we have some support right here, and we're just going to try to figure out if this support holds, then it should break above our trend line. You can also see the dots of the PSAR are getting close to reversing. So at this point, I was setting my stop just above that trend line, and I could see it was coming up. I raised it up and I got out. Now, for those of us who aren't maybe as confident with an opening move and all of the things that happen in here, what you can try to do is find a reversal. And if you're not quite as confident in reading the candles, you can actually have the PSAR alert let you know when maybe it stands for parabolic stop and reverse. And right here it says that it's quantifying that as a reversal. And so we'll see right here, it looks like it held, and then it broke through that line that was serving as support earlier. And now this is kind of fun to see how this will work out. I'll let these play out here because we're also going to have a move that would get us very... So this right here, it broke below, but if you entered right here where the PSAR told you to enter, and then you put a stop right underneath that wick, you did not get stopped out right here, and you want to be in for the full move. You also need to realize that VWAP is a real thing. So what happened is it broke out, it hit VWAP, it came back down, and it tested for support before it could leg back up. And now we'll see what it does with VWAP again here. So now it broke through VWAP. And of course, the question is, again, how high will it go? One thing to look at is possibly the high of the day that we've seen so far. That might be our resistance line. So if we're into like selling into strength, we might eye that spot right there. So let me just look up calls. If you would have gotten calls in right here, the 370 calls right at, on my Central Standard Time, that was right at 11 o'clock. Those were 25 cents at that time, and they peaked at their highest. They peaked out at 74 cents. And so, you're never really going to catch the bottom and you're never going to catch the top. But let's say you got in at 30 cents instead of 25 cents, and then you just tried to set your goal to make 100%. If you could sell at 60 cents, that's a 100% move. Just imagine if you had $500 in on this move right here. You would get $500 back right around here. That would just be in about an hour and a half. And so let's watch to see where this might be finding some resistance. It looks like it found some resistance right there. And now it's kind of breaking back down again. So we'll try to find out where it goes from here. So it's coming back down, and it's kind of testing that same blue line from the day before. And we're trying to figure out, is this going to break down further, or is this going to break out? There was one more move in today, and we will see if it shows up here. Okay, So here's an interesting thing. I'm going to try to see if I can exaggerate this just a little bit so we can see the angles here. Okay, so if we draw our trend line here, this was technically a bear flag, but let's see if this can be kind of tricky sometimes to get this to draw just right. Okay, so I'm going to get this up here and work with me here. There we go. And we're drawing to the tops of these wicks. And you can also see underneath there, it's kind of a parallel line right underneath there. And so this is what people would call a bullish flag, where we break out. I'll put the picture down here, where it breaks out and it comes back down and it forms a flag. Now it's a bullish flag for sure if it breaks out above this trend line again. So we're watching that, and you can see that this is why I draw those resistance lines from the day before, that it bounced right off of that. We just don't know how far it's going to bounce. So it's coming back down and it's testing there again, broke under for a bit, and then right there, that right there, if it breaks above that trend line and it's breaking above VWAP, very soon you're going to see the PSAR is going to switch as well. And so on a day like today, I mean, I was looking over at the RSI. I think I'll put a picture right here. The RSI of those NASDAQ stocks, they weren't super strong. We didn't have any really, really strong moves today. So when a breakout like this happens, I am looking to sell really as into strength as soon as I can. I'm looking at that up here as our resistance for sure. And so if we would have gotten in at calls at this point in time, this is right now at 1:30. At 1:30, you could see those calls were at about 26 cents again, and they peaked out at 70 cents. So once again, we've got a chance here of a 30 cents to 60-cent move here if we watch how this might play out. So there's another chance at 100% opportunity here. You can see the PSAR came in and said buy, came back and it retested VWAP. And what you would do is you would say, okay, the 820 clouds have crossed over, it broke over the trend line. You got in right here, and so you would want to put your stop just under VWAP there so you can try to stay in on the whole move. As soon as you see it's breaking higher and you've got your goals of, 100% is always a good goal for a move, you could just sell when it gets to that 60 cents. It got as high as, oh, that was a tricky one, huh? But if your stop was below VWAP, you were just fine right here. The 820 clouds say that we are in buying mode, we are in call mode. Kind of have a algo switch that occurred. So then it's testing out the 20 EMA, it's consolidating a little bit, and then right up here, that would be a good time to start eyeing an opportunity to sell because you can see it broke out, it got above this resistance right here, and today was just kind of a jumpy day all over the place. The rest of the day, it was just an interesting day as far as the strength in these stocks. They had an RSI of, we're talking about Tesla, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, Apple. They all had an RSI in the 50s or low 60s. And that would explain this right here. There was no strong move in any other direction. And that is a pretty good time to just say, you know what, I might just walk away for the day. But when you think about that, there was a move here off the initial drop, and this was a over 100% move here. PSAR switch right here, that was a 100% move. And then we actually had a bear flag. Let me see if I can get that other line on there just to show if you haven't seen these flags before. Sometimes this doesn't let me move the line. Okay, good. And I mean, that's a pretty decent flag right there. This being the pole, and then this is the flag hanging down from the pole. You can just see a bull flag does provide a bullish breakout. And on a day like this, when you can just see it didn't really move that much, it probably only moved about 8/10. I think it ended up being up 0.8%. And that's a day just to take your gains as soon as you can. Always be happy with 100%. Hopefully you were green today. If not, you will be tomorrow.